Carry less baggage. Give it to God. Anything I want, where change is the only constant.
Oh my gosh. Hi, and welcome to Eniolalaland. Today's episode is going to be a bit more casual. I'm just going to be talking about carrying less baggage. Yeah. And in an attempt to tap into this new creative flow that I'm in, I'm just going to walk around this place that I'm at, which is honestly, truthfully, my happy place. I feel very at peace when I'm here. I don't feel bombarded. I feel like here I can take a second to pause and not be inundated by the worries of the world. Spending time with God and meditating on just what it means to be well. So at this point, the audio is probably going to shift because I'm just going to be vibing. So today's topic, as you can most likely tell from the intro that I will be adding, because I've been creating a lot of creative content that relate to God and wellness, because Anything I Want is a creative production company that is based in wellness and faith-based art, which I feel like is something that I don't really see in the world. It's either that you are a Christian or God-based creator or you're an artist, and I just kind of reached this point where I feel like on my personal life journey the two kind of coincide, and I want to create a space where I can allow that part of myself to be fully expressed. So today's topic is carrying less baggage. As you can see from the cow print purse that I use, this purse is tiny. It is very tiny. And honestly, when I first got this purse, and a lot of the purses that I have right now are small, because I was entering this chapter of my life where I was like, I just don't want to carry so many things around. Prior to that, I was carrying big purses around, and I'm like, this isn't fun. This isn't cute. I'm tired. I want to be able to go somewhere and take only the bare minimum, just the things that I absolutely need. And I kind of feel like when I was making the visual for this purse, originally, I was doing it because I love fashion. But then as I was making the video, which I can put in here as a little commercial break. Let's cue to commercial break.
Taking more conscious breaks and holding less baggage as I walk through life. Anything I want, where change is the only constant.
As I was doing that, I realized that, there's more to this than just a purse. This purse symbolizes how I chose to stop carrying so much baggage around in my life. And I chose to give it to God. I just want to give it to God. I don't want to think about it anymore. I don't want to be stressed about things anymore. I just want to know that I'm waking up every day and making the right choices based on what God's definition of righteousness is. And I trust that if I do what is good in God's eyes, that God will come through for me, because He'll know that I am a child who is after His heart. And I want to be an artist, and I want to be creative, and I want to be fashionable. And I don't think that you have to choose between living a life where you feel good and you have the desires of your heart. But I think it's also important that at the end of the day, to remember that the thing that we desire most of all is peace of mind. We want to feel well. We want to be happy. We want to be content. And so I want to carry less baggage. How can I be content if I'm carrying something so heavy with me around all the time, right? I'm standing in front of you right now, but you know what? I want to go for a little bit of a walk. I want to go for a walk. So I'm going to experiment with this idea I have of chit-chatting as I peruse. Let's go. Okay, so here I am now in one of my favorite spots. I feel like being here, I just feel so at peace. I feel like I can just kick off my shoes and listen to the sound of this waterfall here. And while I'm here, it's almost like I'm looking at ducks right now, just floating by. I went for a hike this morning, and I'm just like, why can't life be like this? Why do I have to be burdened by the worries of where am I going to get my next client? Am I going to make enough money? Is this endeavor that I have and this desire to live a life where I'm just flowing with what God wants for me? Because I believe that there is a God and that God has visions and things that I cannot see, has a bird's eye view of what this life really is. And I just want to be able to bask in that energy, that positivity. And I realized that I was allowing my fear to rule my life a little bit too much. I was a little too worried about what other people were telling me was the right way to live. I was a little too worried about that. I was a little too concerned about all of those anxieties to the point where I was self-sabotaging. I was holding on to habits that should have long died. Things I should have let go of a long time ago. And so when I was making that art piece, and then I decided to turn it into that little visual representation, and it said, carry less baggage, give it to God. And then the short commercial says, taking more conscious breaks and carrying less baggage as I walk through life. I feel like there is no accidents. There are no accidents in this life, in this world. And when I was making those things, I didn't really know what they were snowballing into, but as I'm sitting here now in my happy place, and I hope you can hear me, although there might be the sound of the waterfall behind me, as I'm sitting in my happy place right now, and I'm thinking about the fact that I recently made a choice to stop self-sabotaging, and instead I decided to give it to God. I decided to let go of the version of myself that had been comforting to me for about a couple years of my life. And I had to sit down and ask myself, do I really want to carry this version of myself into the next chapter of my life? And the truthful answer was no. I was done with those habits. I wanted to feel well. And then I turned to God's word, as I had before in the past. And it started to hit differently. It felt different this time. I felt like I could really see God in a way that I only barely saw him before. And as I was sitting down and thinking about God and thinking with God, and I thought about my mistakes and all of the things I had been putting on myself about trying to figure out the ways of the world when I wasn't even at peace in my soul. When the one thing I'd asked God was to give me peace in my soul. Because even God said, what does it benefit a man to gain the whole world but lose his own soul? I didn't want to lose my soul. I didn't want to gain all the things in this life only to reach that point of accomplishment and realize, oh wow, like this is not fulfilling at all. And so God said to me, I need you to carry less baggage. I need you to give it to me. And so that then made me wonder, what is baggage? What kind of baggage am I carrying? Because this bag, it's a tiny little one. It's a tiny piece of baggage. And I like this baggage. It has only the necessities. My personality, the things that I need day to day, phone, wallet, keys. That's something that a friend of mine taught me. Every time you're about to walk out of the house, if you're ever like, oh, what am I forgetting? As long as you have the necessities. And what are those necessities? Phone, wallet, keys. So every time I'm about to step out of the house, I say to myself, phone, wallet, keys. I look, everything is there. Everything else doesn't matter. And so I started thinking to myself, what constitutes baggage? And God basically said to me, baggage is the version of yourself that you don't want to let go of. Baggage is that person that broke your heart that you've falsely told yourself might be the only person for you, even though they didn't actually even get you. And I've made that clear to you over time that that person doesn't really know you. And to be honest, you don't really know them, because only God knows the inner workings of all of our hearts. And so if God pulled me and this person apart, if God pulled me and these people apart, maybe the inner workings of our hearts weren't really resonating at the same frequency. And so whenever negative thoughts try to come in and be like, you're not worthy. If you were worthy, that person would have wanted you. If you were worthy, those people would have wanted you. If you were worthy, that opportunity would have wanted you. But that's not true. Because our worthiness is something that comes from Christ's willingness to sacrifice his life for us. It comes from God's willingness to overlook our shortcomings and say, I know who you are because I know who you can be. I know who I created you to become. And I know that you've allowed the ways of the world to convince you that that is not for you. That is not the life for you. You don't deserve that. You don't deserve to be happy first, then get things after. Who do you think you are to be joyful first before you get that Maserati, before you get that mansion, before you get that house? How dare you? But I dare. And I dare you to dare. And I dare you to stop holding on to that baggage, whatever it is. Even today, I had a moment where I was feeling a sense of frustration because I was reminded of something. And I was like, you know what? No. I'm going to give this to God. I'm going to follow my own advice. I'm going to follow the advice that God told me through the art that I'm making to stop carrying so much baggage and give it to him. And so I sat down and I opened up the Bible and I just read a little bit because I decided to start doing that a little bit every day. I already read the entire Bible, but it's different when you read it again and again and again. You always see something new. But I was like, you know what, God? I need to talk to you. I need to hear you. I need to hear the way that you think, because the way that life is and the way that people would like me to think and the way that I've been conditioned to think, it's not serving me anymore. I don't want it anymore. I want something new. And so I kind of felt like God said, say less. Carry less baggage. Give it to me. And so I did. I decided to start a new chapter where I trusted God implicitly, unconditionally, the way that I have in the past. There was a period of my life where I was just flowing. Every day I would wake up and I would make art, and I would just take it one day at a time. And I would make sure that I was just co-creating with God. That was the same thing that kept going through my mind. I'm just co-creating with God. I had stopped a habit that was really not doing much for me, was not serving me very much at all. I let go of that habit, and for me it was like a minor crutch, a bit of almost like an addiction to a lifestyle that numbed me rather than invigorated me. It was my safe haven because I felt like I was just so tired of feeling all the time. But then in that chapter of my life where I was just creating and flowing every day, I was just giving all of my anxieties and fears and handing it over to God, and I felt different. My way of thinking started to shift. And then people in my life started to shift too. And I got scared. Because then I started to realize, wait. Hold up. Hold the phone. Are you telling me that if I start to do better in these ways, I have to lose these people that I thought were supposed to be my lifelong companions? Oh, I don't know if I can do that. So then I chose those things again. I chose the quick fixes, the unsustainable lifestyle, and I did that for a couple more months, a couple more years. Until one day I was like, oh, this is getting tiring. I think I really miss that way of life. I miss when I was just flowing with God and did my part and God did the rest. That was the season of my life where I was randomly put into Teen Vogue and Cosmopolitan, and it was just like, whoa, how did this happen? Why did this happen? All I was doing was taking photos and selling vintage clothes because I loved it. And I was always just dancing on the roof. And for me, it was like I was dancing with God. And then I stopped dancing with God. I want to dance with God again. I want to flow with God again. I want to co-create with God again. Because there is no better romance than the one that I've had with God. The unconditional love, the steadfastness. And the thing about God is that we've been taught that he's this angry guy in the sky, and he's not. I choose to call God the Father because to me it's like God the Father, Mother, Earth. That's what resonates with my spirit and my soul. Some people like to call God her, to each their own. I feel like God is just like, as long as you show up and connect with me and have a relationship with me, call me what you want. And if I feel like if God thinks that what you're calling him is wrong, he'll correct you. Trust me, he will. But for me, it's like God the Father. Because it's like the whole idea of, for example, you cannot fertilize the egg without the sperm. The sperm comes from the male. The egg comes from the female. To me, Earth is the female and the spirit is the male. My body is the female and my spirit is the male. And God himself says that the body without the spirit is dead. I don't want to be dead anymore. I don't want to be a walking corpse. I want to be in the land of the living. I want to be with God. And it was just such a relief when I came to that conclusion. I was like, I'm ready to completely stop being double-minded. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. And it's so funny because actually I did a Bible study yesterday. And it talks about that. I'm going to read some. All right, so decided to sit down, switch it up a bit. Let me go to my notes. I was reading from Isaiah 28. It just kind of fell into my lap. And as I was reading it, I was like, oh, this is the verse that God wants me to explore today. Because it really spoke to my current circumstances. It spoke to my current situation a lot. And it basically says, the summary that I wrote is, Isaiah 28 talks about the people of God who live with one foot in and one foot out of God's way of life, which was what I was doing. And in this one, it says, namely through wine and the substance consumption. Or in other ways too, God describes it as false gods. Such people become increasingly unstable and they live life having made a deal with hell. Basically being like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And there's a verse that God says, to the people to whom I said, this is a resting place. Come here, rest. Then it will, instead of it being that simple request of God's of being like, you want to have a relationship with me? Just come here, chill with me, rest. It becomes a little bit of this and a little bit of that. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. And God said, the day will come where your covenant with hell, which is a hellish way of living. The way that I see hell is a state of mind. It's a way of living that is not conducive to your highest expression of self. And that's a video I can go into another day. But it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, instead of just a lot of God. You're constantly just a little bit shaky, never able to fully commit to this path. And I was feeling like that. I'm like, I feel like I'm not fully committed, and I want to be fully committed because I know what it's like to be fully committed. But I've been just carrying so many burdens, and I feel like the fact that I was relying on those things was basically a way of my spirit showing me that I had not yet reached the point where I fully trusted God to handle this problem for me. I thought it was going to be, I have to deal with it, and then I need a moment to rest. So I'm just going to I don't know, maybe smoke a J or something. That was my vice. I don't want to do that anymore. And it was never a huge thing for me. And it was never someone who smoked all the time. But when I did smoke, it felt almost I just need to zone out from the world. Why would I want to do that? Now I'm at the point where I'm like, well, why would I want to do that? I want to be in God's world. I want to be someone who lives with God's wellness. Because if I'm going to be making a company called Anything I Want that's all about wellness and faith-based content, how could I be living this double-sided life where I'm kind of I'm very passionate about God. Even then, I was passionate about God, but it was almost I was passionate about God, but then also I was acting in ways that kind of, if anyone was to spiritually dissect, they'd be like, this person's spirit is acting in ways that makes it seem like they don't fully trust God. Because then why would they feel oh, I'm so burdened, I need a reprise in this substance that is slowly trying to become my false God. I don't want any false gods in my reality. I want the only one true God in my reality. And so I had to let go of that false God. And you know what? When I'm with God, I feel higher than any substance could ever make me. Truthfully. You think I'm lying? Try it. Honestly. Have an honest and intimate relationship with God. And tell me what happens. I promise you, chances are, you're going to feel a sense of well-being, a sense of peace, a sense of, yeah, that thing is really stressful, but you know what? I'm going to give it to God. Anyway, what can I do next? What can I do in this moment to continue to live my life in the ways that are conducive to God's kingdom, to the life that God wants for me? If this is not going to help me figure that out, I don't want to think about it. That person broke my heart. I don't care. That's not my problem. They're a child of God too. I'm a child of God too. And if God does not want his two creations to be mingling together, so on, so forth. Go on and live your best life. I wish you all the best. And I hope that you're wishing me well too. But you know what? Even if you're not, you know who is? My creator. So yeah, I'm not going to be carrying any more baggage. Oh shoot, I left my stuff back there. I should probably go get it. Even though I don't want to be carrying any baggage, I should not leave my baggage just lying around. So, all right, I'm going to go grab my shoes. Excuse me. I'm going to go grab my shoes. I'm going to go grab my purse. I'm going to spend some time out here with the sound of the water cascading down, with the sound of the birds chirping, chirp, chirp, chirping. And then I'm going to go on with my day. I'm going to live my life one day at a time, and I'm going to leave the rest to God. And I encourage you to do the same. Thank you for visiting Eniolalaland. And if you enjoyed this video, if it was entertaining or healing to you in any way, support Anything I Want. Give us a like, follow, share it with a friend. And just follow me on this journey as I build this business that will not leave me. And I don't want it to leave me. Because the Lord is my shepherd. and I shall not want. And I do not want you to want either. All right, sending you all so much love. Mwah. Bye-bye.